Welcome, everybody. We here again. I am Dr. Woods, and I am with the one and only Mr. Antonio Bratcher. He's so silly. Always,
Cut it.
always.
Cut it
Hey, our
out.
topic today is finding your purpose. You want to you want to give us some insight with that, Mr. Bratcher, with finding your purpose?
I look. I don't have any insight at the moment, but I will start off by saying, man, today is a special day. Today is my mother's birthday. She's in heaven, October 23rd. So we always celebrate it with the kids. We let some balloons go early. And you want to talk about finding your purpose? Woo, man! How long it took us to get on this alive?
Yeah.
I said, you know what? You was determined, and I wasn't gonna give up on you. Hey, so it must be a purpose behind it. So, man, I mean, the only light I want to share was, man. I always talk about purpose, man. Purpose. A lot of people don't know what their purpose is. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't even understand what their purpose is. But I just wanted to kind of talk about or highlight, man, when you do find your purpose, especially I know last time we talked a lot about work. And that's like you said, man, you're at work more than you are at home. So it seems like everything always go back to work. So when you talk about finding your purpose, man, like it just make things so much more meaningful and less chaotic and less stressful when you find your purpose. So I think that's ultimately what, no matter what direction these conversations go, that's ultimately where I want to kind of stay within them lines. Just understanding what your purpose is and how important it is in your day to day and making things, man, more meaningful and less stressful.
I agree with that, man. You were talking about. I know you're like, what is he doing?
Man, we don't, I can't judge you no more. In the past, I've
Somebody
been
done
like,
text
I need to see you in my
Somebody
office.
text me and say everything's gonna work out. Everything is gonna work out. Hey,
Wheels
if you
over.
don't believe it, you got a situation, man. That just to piggyback on what you're talking about, the death of your and the birthday
Yeah.
of your mom. So, I mean, it's been a trying time for me on today. When my very significant lady friend, her grandmother passed today. I
Hmm.
want to give prayers out to her and her family. Um, Pray that they are doing well as much as possible. And then on today, one of my fraternity brothers, he passed today. Good friend.
Right.
I mean, straight solid guy. You know what I'm saying? His name is Kenneth Newborn, and we call him New Baby. We just want you to know, we want you to take your rest and go mob and do everything that you got to do. We appreciate you. We appreciate God giving us the opportunity with all these people, man. So, uh, wonderful day, wonderful day. You always got to look for the good in
Yeah.
the bad situation, man. And that takes, a lot of people don't know how to do that.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. Yep.
we are here to make it do what it do. So I just want to get that out the way. And he used to always say, I call it blue fight, but his thing is always, get it up there, the blue fight. What are you saying? Get it up there, the blue fight. So, that's my shout out to him. Go mob in the house.
That's
All
what's
right,
up.
all right. All right, then we done got all that out the way, and we just gonna move on a little bit, man. Tell me what you got going on today, Big Dog.
Man, whew, man. Today was a super busy day. Again, as always, one of them days I mark on the calendar, making sure that I'm always gonna celebrate my dupes, every chance I get, as well as my pop. So other than, man, just the normal day-to-day work, dealing with the family, dealing with the kids, and making sure we celebrate. That's about it, man. But I was looking forward to this conversation. And even when we talked about this, I ain't even put two and two together, like, it's my mom's birthday that day. But again, man, like you talk about purpose, man, sometimes you don't question why you line things up, you know what I mean? And again, I keep going back to the technical difficulties, but I was like, hey, it's a reason. It's the reason why me and you linking and joining in this conversation must be important for some reason. So we finna find out.
Always, man. I mean, I can honestly say, with these conversations that I'm having, with you, other people, man, a lot of people is getting some very informative need from services and stuff like that. People are opening up and giving more topic, and just most importantly, man, they say, "Hey, man, I appreciate y'all just coming on sharing the knowledge because a lot of this stuff we don't know about." You know what I'm saying? They, from people to say that they don't that they didn't know a specific therapist or a specific counselor, a specific psychologist, psychiatrist, or someone that actually run programs that can give them the guidance
Yeah.
that they need. Yesterday I seen on the news they were talking about juvenile detention, mainly the diversion program.
Uh-huh.
And, and so people, was in the news talking about, man, that stuff don't work. And even as somebody, talking about it, and what they was explaining is a lot of people get it misconstrued that diversion programs is really for low risk offenders,
Yep. Yep.
not for the high risk offenders. But this is where the education comes in. If you don't work in that environment, you don't know no difference. You just
You
know
don't.
this is a person going to juvenile. You know
Yep.
what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
And those numbers are keep going up as we continue to see kids that we don't work with. Now they in their 20s and still doing what they was doing, and all we can do is just continue to provide them the best services that we can, and just hope and pray that something sticks.
But you know what's crazy about that was what you said about education and information and and knowledge and all that good stuff, man. I had been doing this before I made it to the juvenile detention center, man. I just say roughly 15 years, man. And I everything I did was like after they started incurring charges and getting introduced to the system. So I dealt with the YDCs, the secure youth development centers, the level 3 residentials, the group homes, you name it. And I never dealt with a detention. So until I actually ended up running the juvenile detention center, that opened my eyes to a whole new world because I knew kids after they had got introduced to the detention and they got referred to my programs, right? So once I
Right.
walked into the detention, and you know better than anybody, man, I had to reset, change my perspective and my focus because you couldn't run a juvenile detention center the same way you ran a residential treatment facility. It's just two different caveats. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that education piece is critical, man, because or that information piece because I had no knowledge other than kids go in front of the judge and they go sit in the juvenile and then get referred to whether it's outpatient or a residential facility until I actually ran a juvenile detention center. I didn't know. I didn't know. Yep.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and if you want to, kind of talk about finding your purpose, man, and I think this is right up the alley in the the work that I do, and the work that you have done, just specifically talk about kids. That's a large part of the problem is that um, a large, and I want to say it. I'm gonna go on the limb and say large majority of the people that come in contact with kids in the settings that I run is that they're that's not their purpose for real. They may be still, trying to find what kind of career path they want to go on. Some people just found the first job they can get, you know what I'm saying? And again, that's what make the job less meaningful, more stressful, and also it directly impacts the clients or the people that you're supposed to be helping because a large majority of the people that actually get in the field, that is that's not their purpose, so they're not going to be driven to those same goals and outcomes that we somebody like myself have because that's my purpose. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's why finding your purpose is so critical because it impacts the quality of services that are provided. Whether we talking about kids, adults, hamburgers. If you want to talk about fast food, if you got somebody, if that's not their purpose and they not bought into it, the service that they gonna provide is not gonna be as high quality as somebody who they really believe in that and that's what their purpose is. I'm gonna flip. I
Absolutely.
want to. I want to flip it on you though, Woods. I
Go
want.
ahead, brother.
I want to ask you the questions. See, yeah, you'll
Okay.
never
Go ahead.
never know what I got on my sleeve. But no, really though, man. What do you like? Do you feel like in what you're doing or what you have done? Do you feel like you found your purpose?
you know, I think that's a very tricky question. I think a lot of time I used to always try to figure out what my purpose was.
Yeah.
I read books like The Purpose Driven Life. Read it a couple of times. Then there was another book that came after that. Then I, started reading books like Good to Great and things like that. And then the book that I did not want to read that you gave was the Novice. But the thing is, man, I really feel from the time that I started this at 21 years old, uh, when going into a group home, from the group home to what they call primary treatment centers, where the kids were going in for about 30 days observations, then to the youth development centers, up until all the way to the Department of Children Services. And I totally recommend a lot of people, man. I continue to say this, I can't say it enough. I recommend people that's in this field to get with the state for at
Hmm.
least a year, to learn the rules, the policies, the guidelines, and every time they come up, I'm gonna always go there because I think it's very important, especially when you start going into the private entities and but knowing why you are doing what you're doing. So to answer that, as I moved on forward, even in the detention with the long hours that went on with that, it was never as stressful as it could have been because it was work that I agreed to. And
Hmm.
then when you realize and you look back on it, I was in my purpose.
Yeah.
The purpose is always to help people. And helping the people was more than just helping the juveniles that were there. And it had to deal with the staff. And sometimes you felt like you was a father because you'd be like, man, how old are you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even though they was an employee working for us, they still needed guidance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So with all that, is my thing is what I pride myself on is being a manager of people. Before I finished school, I used to say that I was a change agent. Now I identify myself as an agent of change, which is two different things, which
Yeah.
means that as a change agent is something that you go and you just make a change within a company or something like that. As an agent of change, I look at myself as a change dealing with people,
Yeah.
dealing with both the company and how do you bring everything together to make things work better for the subordinates, the organizational leaders, managers, supervisors, and everybody that's being touched. And it don't just stop there. Sometimes as a agent of change, you sometimes you got to go back and look at people policies and procedures that's been in place that have never been touched and that's outdated, and you trying to govern people in 2024 with some 1995 rules and theories and policies and procedures, and it is outdated. And we know that a lot of stuff that what we have come up to is you got to flow. You got to flow. You got to go with the change. You got to make the moves. You can't be set. You can't be stubborn. You got to be able to make them changes. As you want people to come in, you got to mimic what you want them to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes perfect sense. Make perfect sense.
What made you ask that one, brother?
Well, I mean, just curious because again, man, even though it sounds so simple, you know what I mean, it's not that simple, and sometimes people assume, man, I always go back to the sports. Sometimes people assume just because you see an athlete that played 14 years and loved the game and blah 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 or whatever, man, when you talk to that person one on one, you'll find out that they probably didn't find their purpose. They just play basketball or play sports because that's what somebody drove them to doing, and that really don't make them happy. So I think a lot of times people assume. So I just was curious, want to know. I know I
So
experienced
let me
firsthand
ask
when it
you
comes. Go ahead.
this: so do you think that if you in purpose, you it'll make you happy? You
Say
said
it
that it
again.
wouldn't happen. What's your thoughts with that?
Say it one more time.
You said that if they was in a purpose, they said that they wasn't in a purpose and they wasn't happy. So do you identify in order for you to be happy that you got to be in your purpose, or if you're in your purpose, you're gonna be happy?
Not in order to be happy, you got to be in your purpose. But if if something is your purpose, it ultimately will lead to happiness. Yes, I do believe that.
Okay,
I
okay.
do believe that. I do believe that
What's
because
that? What's that old saying? If you love what you're doing, you'll never work again.
you'll never work again. Yeah, yeah. So so that's why I say that like when you talk about disgruntled employees, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And sometimes, man, I think anything can lead to you being disgruntled, but a lot of times when you find disgruntled employees, there's a lot of people because they not in their purpose for real. You know what I mean? It's hard to be happy when you're not in your purpose. You know what I'm saying? But so that's I do think that purpose does somewhat equate or equals or leads to happiness.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
because when you talk about purpose, you're talking about fulfillment, right? You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And like
absolutely.
every word that you could think about when you look at purpose, you know what I'm saying? I think it ultimately leads to some type of happiness.
That's
Yeah,
a good.
no matter how tough, what you chose to sign up for, no matter how tough it is, I think ultimately you know what I mean, you go to bed happier than you would if you was doing something that wasn't your purpose.
Because you feel like that you touching people, you touching lives, and you making a change, and you making an impact. Most importantly,
Yep,
good
yep,
point.
yep. Yeah, at some point, because it ain't necessarily got to be about people. You know what I mean? Yeah, like it got to be. It's something. And again, I don't have the answer for that, and I think that's why this conversation. I want to have this conversation. Why this conversation is important. Because what drives me, or or what makes something my purpose might be totally different than what it is for you. So yes, for me, it's the people side of it. You know what I mean? Like me helping people, me developing people, me teaching people, being able to say, okay, I'm a part of this person's growth or success, whatever. But that don't necessarily mean that's what's the driving factor for other people. You know what I'm saying? You talk about sports, you know what I mean? I guess so in some shape, form, or fashion, it still leads back to a person. But sometimes, and I think about Kobe. I wasn't no disrespect nobody. I wasn't a Kobe fan while he was playing. But after he played in the NBA, I started to learn so much more about him. And Kobe is probably the definition when you talk about sports about finding your purpose. That was that was his purpose. You know what I'm saying? And it's evident and like the state, like basically how he is honored and still respected throughout the NBA and even a WNBA, women's basketball. But I think that was his purpose, and that's why he cherished the game and played so hard. And again, when you talk about that, the Lakers actually gave him a whole farewell season. They didn't. It wasn't even about how many games they won. It was just about we finna spend an entire season showing him how much we appreciate what he has done for us over. I think he played 19 years or something like that. So again, that's the ultimate definition of purpose when you talk about sports.
Let me ask you this: as we talk about different changes, procedures, leadership, and all that, have you ever identified a situation that you've been in and it seemed like the task at hand was not going to get accomplished, and you had to continue to try something new until you really realize, okay, this is what's going to work in this situation.
I had to process it. So you had to keep trying something until you realize what was gonna work in a situation or
Yeah,
that it would.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yes. I mean, I think that that's man probably one of the biggest pieces of what I deal with on a day to day. I think that in my world or my line of work that most of the situations that I'm never put in or given situations that are set up for success. Right? Like again, that's one of my main responsibilities is to kind of assess situations and figure out what can be done or what needs to be done to make something work better, faster, stronger. You know what I'm saying? Or for something to succeed that wasn't set up for success. Yes, yeah, definitely. So with that, I think that's why myself or people in general, or like I said in my world, you always gotta assess, track, and adjust until figure out what that right combination is. And I hate to even use the word right, because it ain't necessarily always the right combination. It's probably, what's the best combination at that point in time to get
What
whatever desired
what we want
outcomes. Yep.
at that time.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. 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 Because
I,
what
I
you had.
agree with you
Yep.
on that because so many times um, we go through things, and I think this is the thing that we have to always understand is you might try one thing and it gets you where you need to go, and then all of a sudden you get around another group of people and another group of youth or a whole other situation, and you be like, well, let me try this. And you like, man, it's like somebody you going up for a layup, or somebody get that up out of here, and
Yeah.
you like, whoa, okay, I gotta figure this thing out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
So
going back to the detention was, I mean, that's a prime example, man. I was I think I figured out after trying and trying, watching other people try, sitting back and putting together a master plan of, okay, this is what works, and this is how you run a successful residential program. When you talk about successful, people being happy at work, people getting promoted, kids are thriving, kids are more successful than not successful, things of that nature. And then you figure that formula out, and you like, okay, I got it. Drop me off anywhere, and this is gonna work. And when I walked into the detention, that was a prime example of no, what I did over here will not work in a juvenile detention setting. So I had to reset. You know what I mean? I had to assess. I had to track, and I had to adjust and adjust and adjust until we figured out something that did work. You know what I'm saying? And kind of going back when we said right versus what's working right now. You know what I'm saying? I think that was the ultimate reason why we was able to run a thriving juvenile detention center. You know what I'm saying? And I say that loosely because in some other people's eyes, they might feel like no, but their vision was totally different than my vision. My vision, I felt like we ran the best juvenile detention center that we could have run given the resources that we had.
yeah, and I think that is a big factor. And I had that conversation with Adrian last week, and what he talked about, I mean, was the lack of resources,
Yeah,
and not
yeah,
only did we identify the resources as money, uh, he identified resources dealing with the human capital, having the people, not having the people, having participation from organizational leaders that really want you to be successful. Identifying where you're going to put this resource compared to that resource, and the most important, which we always talk about, is the importance of manpower. And if the state or whatever governing part or body gives you, hey, we can have 1 to 8 per youth, one step per 8 youth, then we already know that's not good enough. The the,
yeah.
the minimum is never good enough in this
Never.
environment.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about that's not necessarily dealing with youth. I'm talking about with behavior health hospitals. I'm talking
Anything.
about
Yep.
anything, man. When you're
Yep.
dealing with the minimum, the minimum is just enough to get you more frustrated
Yeah.
because you're going to become frustrated.
Yeah.
But when I always look back and I was talking to him and I said, man, when we had that mug humping up in there is when we had numerous staff on each unit. We had supervisors in training,
Hmm.
1, 2, and 3. That in the three, it was 1, 3 for every 2 units, and
Yeah.
then on top of that, you had 2 supervisors. So, and then we had extra staff doing searches and making sure the perimeter. And so that way, when there was an emergency that came, man, it looked like it was 50 people, and that not only made the staff feel like this, they would say, it made the staff feel like they would say.
Yep. 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 Big
So
facts.
yeah,
And I echo that and stamp that no matter what business you in, yeah, whatever the bare minimum or the guidelines are, the minimum it's there for a reason. I always try to exceed what the minimum is because the minimum is just going to get you just that far. You know what I mean? And
Right.
figuring out ways to I always go back to sports. If they give you a salary cap, trust me, the teams that thrive figured out ways around the salary cap. They did. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They figured out other ways to get people to get the best quality players with staying within that salary cap. But trust and believe they found some other financial means to bring them people to their team.
And you may have a point there because I like to listen to Jared, the talk show host on 102.5. And the first thing he'll say is that salary cap is fake
Yeah,
because it's amazing how you can have some people and they talk about their salary cap and they over the salary cap. And his thing is how you gonna be over the salary cap if that's the cap?
yeah, yep, yep, yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, but like you said, you have to find other ways
Yep, yep.
to
Or
find
be willing to take, whatever consequences come with whether that is not not making as much money as you probably would have made if you stayed up under or dealing with a fine or something of that nature, but being able to deal with those consequences in order to get the results that you want. And that I think that's what's the big issue. A lot of people don't want to deal with. I say people, companies don't want to deal with whatever that consequence is making less money or not meeting a quota to that nature, but you're also sacrificing the outcomes though. So and some people are willing to take that hit because they want the positive outcomes.
Okay, okay. All right there, Mr. Bratcher. Man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Give us some some words that can get us through another week. Give us some inspiration.
Man, who would I don't know. Let me try to dig deep. I don't know what I mean. We started off kind of talking about death and and loss and things of that nature, whatever, man. And I think this kind of still go back in line with that purpose, man. And I can speak about my mother and my parents in particular. You know, I feel like their purpose here was to I got five siblings, so it's six of us, and we all communicate. We all are healthy. We all are thriving in our own individual ways. And so even though I think about my parents every day. I miss them dearly. But however, they serve their purpose. You know what I mean? They raised their kids. They gave us the tools. They gave us the resources. All the things we talking about work wise. You know what I'm saying? Everything that
Right.
I do was I'm talking about from whether it be changing a tire or getting on the stove and preparing a meal, man. It's things that I learned from my parents, man, and that you know I'm thinking that they just doing what parents supposed to do, but no, they was prepping me, man. They was prepping me. They was prepping my brothers. They was prepping my sisters. And again, at the end of the day, I think they knew. Of course, I didn't know. I was a kid, but that's what their purpose was to raise their kids and prepare their kids to be able to sustain on their own. You know what I mean? So I guess so if you want to turn it into words of encouragement or something that people could take away with that, just knowing tomorrow is never promised. I always be able to live your life to the fullest and cherish the things that people have instilled in you because they instilled it for you in you for a reason. I know we always talk about monetary things and we look for things that are like financial incentives and things of that nature. But man, like sometimes people give you things that may not be financial and when you look at it or monetary when you look at it, but when somebody can instill some knowledge in you that you can use in order for you to be able to sustain on your own, that reward is way bigger than any financial compensation that somebody can give you.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your knowledge as always, man. And I thank you for your inspiration. So as we get ready to get out of here, man, I want to give a shout out and give all the prayers to the newborn family. I know y'all going through some trying times right now. But our prayers is with you all. Thank you all for allowing us, mainly God, allowing us to help him as long as we did. Go mob to the brother. We thank you. And remember, to everybody else, small victories lead to small victory leads to greater success. I am Dr. Woods, and you have just been hit by the raw approach. Thank you all.